Hey everybody, this is Granddaddy Allen, and we are with some pups today, and they're going to explain what pup is all about. So who wants to start first?
I'll
Okay.
start. For me, it's about submission. It's about the relationship between the dom and the sub being the pup. I've been in pup play for over 15 years. Got started in Chicago, and so it's really about that relationship between the dom and the sub for me. Any pup event I go to, I'm looking for that interaction between the doms and the subs. I feel like more lately, a lot of pup events are very pup focused, and you don't have as many sirs or madams or doms in those events. And I'd love to see more pup events that are mixed between pups and doms that aren't doing pup play themselves. But I think that's me.
Yeah. Okay, so the clarification.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about doms and subs.
Correct.
Okay, which is a lot of people think of leather in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that differ for a pup in that respect?
I feel like pup play is not too different from something like slave play. There's a role that you're embodying as a pup, and it's both productive, I think, for the pup and for the dom. It can be very cathartic for the pup to enter into this headspace where you sort of release your stresses as a human. You're not thinking about what you need to be doing at work tomorrow. You're just in this very specific pup headspace. And for the dom, they're able to either care for that pup, they're able to dominate that pup. I think it just creates a lot of opportunities that you don't get in other BDSM situations, because there is this sort of what's the word? I want to say dehumanizing, but that sounds a little bit negative, right? You're sort of getting rid of some of those human clothes that you wear from day to day.
You're liberating yourself from your humanity.
It's liberating,
So that
yeah.
you can-
And so that's that cathartic aspect. And then for the dom, in sort of being able to either control that pup or care for that pup, provide for that pup, it creates this interaction that is I don't know, very different and very beautiful and very productive for me.
Okay. So I'm going to kind of go down a little bit on this.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Because you have the dom subs as
Of
we
course.
chatted about and stuff. So why is it different to have the face gear or the headgear of a pup versus not having that and still be the dom sub?
So you don't need to have any kind of gear to be a pup.
True.
But it encourages the headspace. It helps you get into that mindset, either by taking on the features or in some ways changing features about yourself, like your ability to speak or the fact that you have a tail or something like that, that lets you kind of attach to that role that you're playing in that dynamic. And so it's not something that is required for pup play, but it can be something that helps to get into that specific headspace.
Okay.
Yeah. It can, and also, when you see yourself, you don't see that human side of yourself. You're not seeing your face, so there's that separation there. It's easier to disconnect from that human side and really assume that puppy role.
Okay, so I'm gonna again narrow down a little bit, okay?
Sure.
Because I really want people to understand this.
Yeah.
Okay. So most people, when they see you guys wearing pup gear, they're thinking that you're going to become a pup, an actual dog type character. That doesn't seem to be the case with what you're saying.
I feel like at a lot of public bar events, you don't get that aspect of it as much. Of course, we're all standing on 2 feet. We're talking to you right now. That's something that I wouldn't do in pup headspace. It actually took me a long time when I first got into pup play to be able to wear my hood We call them hoods, not masks, typically. And be in that public bar space. Because it, like Gruff said, it was very much part of, if I want to get into this headspace, this is part of my, that sort of...
Dress for the job you want.
That's right. Well, it was part of the preparation, right? Like I'm putting on this hood, so I'm getting to this place where I'm not speaking, I'm not standing. And so when I first got involved, when I'd be in a social situation, I wouldn't wear my hood and talk to you like this because it was difficult for me to separate those two. Like I said, I've been doing this for almost 2 decades, so it's easier for me to, if I want to get into headspace, I can sort of assume that very quickly. But yeah, you know, it's sort of with the territory. If we're in this public bar space, we need to talk to people, we need to navigate. It's not necessarily safe, it's not necessarily easy to stay in that dog mode.
Yeah.
When it comes to a private scene that you're doing with a dom, then things can be very different from what you see at a bar like the Eagle or any bar across America. There are these sort of different sides of it. And you will see at these bars and events, you will see pups that are being led on a leash. You will see pups that are walking on all fours that are not talking, that are in a sort of BDSM, dom sub, puppy headspace. But that's not as often what you're going to see at a public event, because it is a very, it can be a very intense scene for both partners, especially the pup having to sort of diminish aspects of their humanity to assume a certain role to provide that for the dom.
Okay.
And in any BDSM relationship that you have, there's going to be a negotiation where you decide what works in what spaces and how. And I mean, for a lot of the pups that come here to like a local bar that maybe are not here with a handler, they're here by themselves or things like that. Of course, that dynamic is going to be different in how they operate in like the just group dynamic that they're in versus what they were in a private one-on-one space, or they were doing a scene, or they had a prior relationship with this person that was handling them. So those things can be, of course, discussed and negotiated and really comes to terms for what is comfortable for not only the pup but also for the handler or dom, whatever you want to call it in that scenario. And so it just really breaks it down to, you can't say that, you know, just because you don't have gear you're not a pup, or because you're not on all fours you're not a pup, or because you talk you're not a pup. I mean, it really comes down to, well, what is the relationship with how you're interacting with those that are around you, and then if you are in a specific dynamic, are you playing by the rules of the negotiation that you have with your dog?
That's been an interesting thing for me, being in pup play for a while. I feel like when I first got started, pup play was a very specific, like, this is what the pups are and this is what the doms are for those pups. But as time's gone on, it's become much more of a, what do you want to get out of this, right? And it's much more about that negotiation. And so everyone can kind of have their own goals to achieve with.
Which is the same for being, you know, S&M.
Very much so, yes.
Okay.
I think what most people are seeing is they're seeing people wearing gear at bars, which typically is just a visual thing, a community thing, and not all those people may be interacting with pup headspace or with dom sub relationships very much, if at all.
A lot of times it can also be just a flag, like, hey, I'm at this bar, I want to show that I'm a pup, so if someone's interested, then we can begin that negotiation. I'm not going to play that role, be in that headspace at this event, but I want to flag that I am into this, that this is my kink,
that's a
that
really
this
good
is
way to
my
put it.
activity.
Well, and also just like in any sort of gear, which is anything that you wear that makes you feel sexy. I mean, there is of course a time and a place and a tradition from where these things kind of stem from. But in the reality, not everybody that wears leather is into leather. You know what I mean? They're not in that community.
They're just
not
wearing it
engaged
for
with
the joy.
They're wearing it because they like how it makes them feel. You know what I mean? So sometimes that happens in pup play as well.
True.
Because pup play is a kink. It's a fetish. It's, you know what I mean, there's so many different aspects to it. It's not this thing that you can say every pup does this and looks this way and acts this way, and if they're not, then they're not a pup. Because there's there's so many different aspects to it that it really depends on what that person is trying to get out of it.
Yeah.
And so
And all of those are valid.
yeah, and to Soda's point, like originally, I mean, it was a subculture of BDSM, and so it came from that, and it was very grounded in that for its history. But nowadays, I mean, there's pups that create their own packs that don't have handlers, or pups that play with other pups, or things like that. And so it really depends on how these people that are operating inside of this kink or this fetish take it and make it their own, and then negotiate with those that are around them.
Is there a good website or space that people can go to learn more about it?
I
book,
read a
I probably
book.
recommend
Yeah,
that.
I read a book that was called
Was it Bark?
no. I think it was just called Puppy Play.
Oh,
And
okay.
it was by
Sparkfield Finder.
yeah.
There are a lot of resources online, and to Gruff's point, a lot of these resources are going to come at Pup Play from different directions. Some of them are going to approach it from a more traditional direction that's going to speak more towards the Dom-Sub relationship and the protocol that should be followed by pups, whether in public or in private. Some of them are going to be a lot more specific to attaining what you want out of your own kink play and being able to negotiate that, and is less specific on old school protocol. And then others are more specific on just safety. When you're in a pup headspace, sometimes you're not thinking about certain things, and so being able to play either sexually or non-sexually in a safe way is important to get in on.
Right.
Did you find that website?
Yeah, so there's it's called
book?
Pup Play by Tessa Alpha Inu was the book that I read. But at the same time, I would encourage people not to take one source as their their Bible for how to do this thing. I mean, when I got into it, I just did what anybody would do and Googled as much as I could about what Pup Play was and how it worked, and then eventually purchased that book and read it. But I mean, like I said, there's certain people that'll tell you, oh, it's about community, oh, it's about BDSM, oh, it's about gear. I mean, it can be so many things to so many different people that it really becomes what you kind of internalize and how you make it your own. But going through that research allows you to learn more about where it stems from, what kind of things are commonly taking place within these environments and in these dynamics, and then educating yourself on what that looks like to you to properly do.
Take what you want from it.
One last question, because this is going to be on public. Do you want to give your pup name, or
I give either, both.
pup name's fine?
I'm Pup Soda. When I'm not a pup, my name is Miles.
Anybody else?
I'm Pup Sparky.
Scorpy?
And I'm gruff.
Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
you.